We are now in section 3, the organizations and people dimension of change enablement. For the exam, the syllabus is to understand and apply the roles and competencies of this practice. In particular, we will be describing the responsibilities of the change manager, the change coordinator, and the change authority. And also we will discuss how to position this practice within the organization structure. We first begin with the ITIL's generic competency codes and profiles. All the practice guides, the 34 that is within ITIL 4, they do not describe the practice management roles like practice owner, practice lead, or practice coach, but they focus on the specialist roles that are specific to each practice. For example, here we will deal with the change authority, the change manager, and the change coordinator. The actual structure and the naming of each role may differ from one organization to another. Therefore, any roles defined in ITIL should not be treated as mandatory or even recommended. These are just guidance. Also, roles are not job titles because one person can take on multiple roles and one role can be assigned to multiple people as well. Roles are described or they work within the context of processes and activities. Every role is characterized with a competency profile based on the model shown in this table here. There are 5 competency codes available within ITIL. We have L, A, C, M, and T. And every role may be given a specific competency code. For example, if it is LMT, it means the primary skill that is needed would be leadership. Then the secondary would be methods and techniques expertise. And the third one would be to be a technical expert. On the other hand, if the competency code is TAC, then that would mean the primary competency necessary would be technical expertise, followed by administration, and followed by coordination and communication. Now, it is not necessary that you put only or assign only 3 letters for the competency code. It could be 4 or even 5 letters. What is important is that the beginning letters are more priority as compared to the later on letters. There are 3 roles specific to the change enablement practice, which are change manager, coordinator, and change authority. And these are often introduced within organizations with a large number of changes that are processed manually, and we will take a look at them afterwards. In this table, let us understand what these 5 different codes mean. The L is for leader, who usually make decisions, delegate, oversee other activities, provide incentives and motivation to their people, and evaluate outcomes that they are pursuing. The A code, the administrator, are those who assign and prioritize tasks, keep records, perform ongoing reporting, and initiate basic improvements. The coordinators and communicators coordinate multiple parties together. They maintain communication between stakeholders and run awareness campaigns. The M for methods and techniques expert are good at designing and implementing work techniques, documenting procedures, consulting on processes, work analysis, and continual improvement. The T is for technical expert, which means they provide technical, for example, IT or other subject matter expertise, and conduct expertise-based assignments. Now we look at the roles in this practice. Change manager, this is the first one. They are typically responsible for the following: for the initial processing and verification of the change requests, for allocating changes to appropriate teams for assessment and authorization according to the change model. In some instances, they may communicate decisions of change authorities to the affected parties. They also monitor and review the activities of the teams that build and test changes. They also publish the change schedule and ensure that it is available as needed. Also conduct regular and ad hoc service review analysis, initiate improvements to the practice, to the change models as well, and to the standard change procedures. They also develop the organization's expertise in the processes and methods of the change enablement practice. In some cases, there may be an additional role of change coordinator with similar responsibilities, but the scope of the coordinators are limited. For example, they may only do these for specific type of changes or certain territory of the organization or a part of the organization. The generic competency profile for this change manager and the change coordinator roles is MTCLA. And as we noted earlier, M is the methods and techniques expert, which would be the primary competency required for these roles. the second competency needed would be the technical expertise, followed by C, which is communicator, coordinator. And then we also have a little bit of the leadership and a little bit the least of the administrative competency. Now, the importance of each of these competencies varies from activity to activity. The roles which can be involved in change enablement activities may be several, and each one of them may be having associated competency profiles and required or related skills. For example, during the change review and planning, the technical competency would be the most important, followed by the communication one, because they need to have good knowledge of the products, including their architecture and configuration, understanding of the change models, the business impact analysis, and the risk analysis during the change review and planning. Whereas during the change model and procedure improvement initiation, they would, of course, need the technical expertise, but followed by the methods expertise, and then the administrative, because they need the good knowledge of the products, including architecture and configuration, like the change review and planners, but they also need to understand the change models, business impact analysis, and risk analysis, just like the change review and planners. During the change model and procedure update communication, the primary competency required would be communication or coordination one, followed by the technical expertise, because they need to understand the change models and have good communication skills. So those three were for the three of the activities for the change enablement and optimization process, where those would be needed. And when we go to the change lifecycle management processes, then for those steps, we do have different competency needed for change registration, change assessment, change authorization, change planning, change realization, and change review and closure. So during the change registration, the primary skill would be the technical expertise, followed by the administrative skill, because they would have to understand the change models and registration procedures. For the change assessment, again, technical skill followed by communication skill, because of need to have good knowledge of the products, including the architecture and configuration, business impact analysis, and risk analysis during the assessment. For change approval or authorization, it would be CTM, primarily communication, and then technical, followed and then by methods, because of the good knowledge of the products, including their architecture and configuration needed, understanding of the change models, and business impact analysis to be done. For the change planning before the implementation, it would be TAC, technical expertise, then administration, then communication, which means good knowledge of the products, including their architecture and configuration, and having to understand the change models. During the change realization control, which means during the implementation of the change, ATC would be necessary, the competency code that is, A for administration, T for technical, C for communications, because they need to have good knowledge of the products, including their architecture and configuration, and understanding the change models.